If you're a growing contractor and you're struggling with maintaining the quality of your work as you grow, then this video is for you. Hi, I'm Jerry Aliberti, owner of Pro-Accel. Over the past 20 years, I've worked with a lot of major contractors, several major contractors in the New York City area, and now I'm working with a lot of contractors all around the country, helping them build and grow their businesses. And I can tell you this, one of the top 5 pain points they all have is maintaining quality of workmanship on their projects. So what is the result of declining workmanship on your projects? One, it destroys your relationships that you spent many years building. It takes many years to build trust with an existing client or a previous client. All it takes is one bad email, one bad conversation, and especially for the sake of this video, one bad project to destroy that trust and that relationship that you took many years to build. Also, it results in a lot of rework. Rework comes out of your bottom line. It destroys your profits. I know several contractors who have admitted that they spend several $1,000,000 a year on rework. Now, these are large contractors, but millions of dollars of rework is still millions of dollars coming out of your profit. You could pay a lot of bills with millions of dollars. If you're a small contractor, you're probably barely getting by with cash flow, and any kind of rework can put you out of business. So maintaining workmanship as you're growing as a contractor is a top pain point that I hear. And in this video, we're going to talk about what quality control is, why it typically happens, why it typically decreases, and ways you can maintain quality control in your organization as you grow. So what is quality control? Quality control in construction involves ensuring that all aspects of a project, from materials and workmanship to processes and final outcomes, meet established standards and specifications. It includes regular inspections, testing, and monitoring throughout the construction process to identify and correct any defects or deviations from the project plan, specification, and contract. So why does it happen? Why, as contractors grow, the workmanship typically declines? Not all the time, but it does in many companies. One, increased projects also involves increased complexity and size of projects as well. You went from taking care of 3 or 4 projects that are a couple $1,000,000 each. Now you're handling 10 projects and within that particular company that are now 10, 20, $30 million each. So what happens is there's a lot more increased planning, and that increased planning, it requires increased competence within your organization. So you hired a lot of project managers, supers, or tradespeople that were accustomed to smaller projects. Now they're growing with you as a company. They're learning the processes as they're going and as the company's taking on larger work. I speak to a lot of contractors, a lot of employees, and they feel that the owner is taking on work that isn't aligned with the original skills of the organization. Listen, if you want to build and grow your organization, you need to diversify. You need to take on larger work. So it's the owner. I understand the owner why they're taking on this type of work, but I'm going to discuss further in this video why it's important to train those employees as you're growing as well. So as you're taking on larger work, it requires increased competence. And growing contractors don't always have the budget to hire a $250,000 a year project manager who's accustomed to $100 million a year jobs. So it's an issue. It's a balance that you need to find. Next is increased hiring. So as you're hiring project managers, supers, and foremen with varying skills that aren't always aligned with the scope of work that you're hiring for. As you move them from project to project, one may be really great at demolition. Now they're going on to a project where they need to be pouring concrete as a foreman. So it's tough to hire for a specific project, then move them to so you're hiring skills for a specific project. Well, now you want to move them to the next project, and that next project they're not perfectly aligned. Their skills aren't perfectly aligned with the scope of work. So again, it's another balance that you need to find, and it's not so easy to move a tradesperson or a super or a project manager who's perfectly aligned with their skills to the skills that are required for that next project. Next, expansion requires diversification. So this goes back to what I was just saying. The skills of your employees become diluted. If you're a concrete contractor, for example, and you started off doing sidewalks and curbs, well, now you're doing foundation work. Now you start getting into retaining walls. You went from residential to commercial. Now you're in commercial. Now you're diversifying into infrastructure, into public works. It requires different skills. So these skills become diluted as you continue to grow. And we're going to talk about how to make sure that those skills are constantly tweaked to help you continue to keep your employees strong. Next is the pressure to cut corners. Listen, cash flow is so critical in business. You can have a business for many years with positive cash flow without profit, but you need cash flow. So contractors are pressured to cut corners to make more money on projects. That reduces the quality of the work. I often see a lot of contractors do rework because of that. And if you're in the public works sector where you have inspectors breathing down your neck all day long, this can become a major problem. So cutting corners and getting caught cutting corners will absolutely destroy the trust that you've built for many years with your existing and previous clients. Next, larger teams means more confusion with communication channels. I frequently talk and deal with this with my clients now is how do we keep the communication channel strong? How do we respect each role that the owner designated? If you bumped somebody up from a journeyman to a foreman, how do you respect that role, that leadership role as a foreman? That foreman needs to be taking care of everything that happens on that project site. If they can't take care of it, then they're going to go to a super. The super needs to their leadership role needs to be respected, and within the organization, they need to be trained and have the right tools as a super to handle all problems that are happening that the foreman can't handle. Now, if the super can't handle that problem or problems, then they should go to the project manager. The project manager needs to have the right tools, resources, and training to handle all the problems that are happening within that project. Now, if the project manager can't handle it, now depending on the size of your project, you may have a project executive, a senior project manager, or maybe they're going directly to the owner. So you need to have the proper communication channels, and you need to have the right tools in place. I love look-ahead schedules. Look-ahead schedules force project teams to have certain conversations on a weekly basis to make sure that they're planning ahead, right? Do they have the right equipment? Is the equipment sitting on the project for too long and it's costing too much money? Can you get rid of that? A rental? What is required in the next couple of weeks by putting together that project schedule that maybe they wouldn't normally think about without collaborating? What kind of checklists you have in place? What's your cost tracking? You have to have cost tracking on your projects. You have to have real-time data that's telling you if you're making money or not making money on your projects. Now, this is kind of going off topic with quality control, but it's on the topic of quality control as well, because if you're not making money, then it's going to cause your teams to cut corners. And the problem with not having real-time data is that you're going to learn several months down the line that you're not making money, and you're going to start cutting corners severely. If you have real-time data, you can pivot and you can shift your work to get back on track a lot quicker. So it keeps you from cutting those corners. It keeps your team from becoming very nervous, well beyond the point that they should be. So every single week, your teams need to have real-time data if they're making money or not making money, so they can pivot on a weekly basis. Also, growing teams means less A teams. As you're growing, you need to start hiring your B teams and your C teams. You can't always have the best of the best as you're growing. It's really impossible to have the best of the best all the time. You can't always be hiring $250,000 a year project managers. You need to be hiring young employees out of school and train them. They're not going to be A teams right out of school, whether it's high school or whether it's college, depending on what you're hiring for. So these are the reasons why I feel a lot of contractors are struggling with quality control. It has to do a lot with planning, has to do a lot with communication, has to do a lot with varying skills and diluted skills as you continue to grow. So now let's start talking about how to fix this, how to keep your quality as tight as possible. One, standardized processes. Now, as I continue to work with more and more contractors, I hear about how contractors are continuously trying to implement process and nobody follows them. It's probably because that a lot of those processes just are irrelevant to your organization. You need to determine, you need to make an executive decision exactly what processes must be in place that are going to move the needle and that are imperative, super critical to your organization to make sure you're getting the cash flow, the workmanship, and the profits that you need for your organization. As I mentioned before, as you're hiring more and more employees, they're bringing in, they're performing work as they know how to perform work that the previous employer taught them. So you need to bring them on board. And let's say your organization is called ABC Concrete. ABC Concrete, hey, listen, this is how ABC Concrete performs change orders. Change orders is one process you need to have in place. A project kickoff from estimating to project management is another process that must be in place. So you need to determine what processes must happen to move your company forward. Next is investing in training. So many the major organizations in the major construction companies all have training in place. You need to summon your employees to a monthly or a bi-weekly after work training session and discuss quality control. Maybe you can bring up some rework that was done on a previous project and how proper quality control would have prevented that. Bring real life stories. This isn't about finger pointing and bashing people within your organization. It's a matter of training and bringing awareness to your employees. Next is quality control systems. I love checklists. You shouldn't be reinventing the wheel every single time you perform the same task. If you have a specific niche, you're most likely doing the same work over and over and over. Do you have checklists in place that everybody is following? This also increases accountability within the organization. So have a checklist in place. If you're going to do I'm going to stay on the niche of concrete. If you're going to perform a concrete pour, what is the checklist that makes sure you have all the equipment, all the phone calls to inspectors, and anything else that's required to be in place before you pour that concrete slab or that retaining wall. Next is leveraging technology. Now, a lot of contractors think that technology is going to be the number one way for them to grow their company. Honestly, I think it's more of a distraction than not, but technology is absolutely critical to growing contractors. I think the top reason why a lot of contractors spend so much money on technology and tell me that they can't have their people So a lot of contractors say that they underutilize their technology. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because you're not training properly, building the confidence and the comfort level within your organization to use that technology properly. So employees become overwhelmed. A distaste is created, and they kind of just push that technology to the side. You need to build the confidence and the comfort level right out the door as soon as you try to implement this technology to increase the comfort level so your employees can use this technology. Because if you don't and you just say, hey, this is our new software program for CRM or for project management, go figure it out, which I've been in that situation. Go figure it out. Guess what's going to happen? Nobody's going to figure it out. They're too busy dealing with the day-to-day operations. So if you want to introduce new technology, which you need to, make sure you do the proper training to increase the confidence and the comfort level. Next is client feedback loops. You need to have a way to get client feedback. I think you should do it on a monthly basis. I think you should designate a senior person within your organization, make a simple phone call to your clients, to the owner, to the architects, whoever is paying you and feeding you and will give you future work, and just have a general conversation with them. Maybe take them out to lunch and say, hey, how's the job going? Are we doing a good job of communication? Are we doing a good job of planning? Just that simple conversation is going to increase your relationship. It's going to show that you care about that relationship that you're having with them. And admit that maybe you can do better in certain. Don't always protect and become defensive. Admit that sometimes you need to do better planning and better communication. I'm telling you right now, that is going to be a critical step in keeping the relationship strong with your existing and previous clients. And last but not least, implement a quality control department. Now, this is not easy for a small contractor, but if you're a mid-sized contractor, do you have a person within your organization who is exclusive to quality control, who's making sure that everything that I mentioned in this video is happening on a day-to-day basis? Major organizations, the billion-dollar-a-year companies, they have quality control departments. Now, if you're a $50 million a year contractor, you're a mid-sized contractor, you could maybe have one person, even if they're working part-time. There's also consulting firms, and there's also firms that you could hire on a fractional basis that could help you with quality control as well. Think about it. It's an investment that will give you a high ROI based on all the things that I discussed. So I hope you like this video. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and comment. Tell me, I would love to know your thoughts. If you're watching this on my website and you have the blog attached, again, you could also comment and tell me how you like it. Thanks.